People in the Labour Party used to say to me when I was leader, you know, you're going too far to the centre to get these people. And I say, you've got to understand, these are people who voted Tory. Estimate him because he's not flamboyant, but he's pretty immovable when he sets his sight on something.
£4.7 billion. That's how much Labour plans to divert from domestic needs to fund overseas climate initiatives and asylum seekers. Tony Blair's not having it, and he's pulling no punches. But is Blair the fiscal hero we need, or is there more to this story? Stick around as we break down the numbers and reveal the shocking truth behind Labour's spending priorities. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. Many people are baffled by Tony Blair's transition from Labour's golden boy to its most scathing critic. What might have motivated the former Prime Minister to so violently turn against his own party?
Labour, I think I'll probably vote Green because Labour needs a shake, but I haven't decided, so we will see.
Blair's harsh criticism of Labour's spending plans, which has drawn criticism from people of all political persuasions, holds the answer. The startling claim that billions of pounds are being transferred from domestic needs to foreign causes lies at the core of Blair's criticism. However, how much of this assertion is true? Blair claims that Keir Starmer, the current leader of Labour, is massively misallocating funds and giving priority to climate initiatives and asylum seekers over urgent domestic issues.
We will carry the responsibility of your trust as we rebuild our country.
Blair made some damning specific charges against Starmer's leadership. He contends that Labour is sacrificing vital public services in order to focus on housing asylum seekers and achieving lofty climate goals. According to the former Prime Minister, these priorities are out of step with the demands of regular British citizens, who are already dealing with the depreciating public infrastructure and the cost of living crisis. It is impossible to overestimate how seriously these accusations could affect Labour's standing with voters. Blair's criticism merely feeds the disenchantment that many Labour supporters already have with Starmer's leadership. It casts doubt on Labour's capacity to oversee the country's finances and give its core supporters' needs top priority. Would Blair's remarks serve as the impetus for a significant change in Labour's course? It's definitely feasible. Deep rifts within the party have been revealed by his criticism, with some members supporting Starmer's vision, while others are demanding a return to the priorities of the Blair era.
People in the Labour Party used to say to me when I was leader, you know, you're going too far to the centre to get these people. And I say, you've got to understand, these are people who voted Tory.
This internal dispute could weaken Labour's position against the Conservatives in upcoming elections by threatening to erode the party's unity at a critical juncture. It is becoming more and more clear how deep these party divisions are. Senior Labour leaders are frantically responding to Blair's criticism. Some are quietly admitting that Blair's concerns are valid, while others are defending Starmer's leadership. The party's divisions are further highlighted by this lack of a cohesive response. However, while weighing the significance of Blair's criticism, we also need to examine the critic's own credibility.
I want to give Keir Starmer my support. I think he's, probably doesn't help much if I start getting into this issue, but
Blair's own past is not without controversy after all. A mirror reflects back on Blair's own legacy, just as he accuses Starmer of having bad economic policies. What if the man who was critiquing Labour's spending patterns ended up in financial ruin himself? Blair uses a lot of irony in his talk about fiscal responsibility. We must examine the former Prime Minister's own financial history in order to comprehend why. Do you recall that notorious note that Blair's tenure ended with "left in the Treasury"? "There's no money left," it said, written by Liam Byrne, the Chancellor at the time. This straightforward remark came to represent the dire financial situation Blair's administration left behind. Blair's departure in 2010 presented serious challenges for the United Kingdom. A significant deficit and growing national debt presented a picture that was very different from the responsible economic management that Blair now advocates. His current position as Starmer's fiscal critic contrasts sharply with this. casting doubt on the veracity of his counsel.
Estimate him because he's not flamboyant, but he's pretty immovable when he sets his sight on something.
However, Blair's contentious legacy extends beyond his financial contributions. There is a lot of controversy surrounding his recent support for digital IDs. Blair argues that these systems would improve security and streamline public services, framing this as a necessary evolution for modern governance. He views it as a tool for improved governance in our digital age, rather than an overreach. Critics are quick to draw attention to the possible drawbacks of digital IDs, though. Increased government monitoring and violations of people's right to privacy are major worries. Some raise concerns about the moral ramifications of such technology in the hands of the state, by drawing disturbing comparisons to China's social credit system.
Surprised that many of them want a rerun. That isn't how our system works. There would be plenty of people who didn't want us in the first place.
In the UK, where public confidence in the government is already shaky, this debate is especially divisive. The public is wary of greater government control over personal data because of past scandals.
Which is intended to, or likely to, start racial hatred. So if you retweet that, then you're republishing that, and then potentially you're committing that offence.
Such as the imprisonment of people for posting on social media. In this regard, Blair's support for digital IDs comes across as, at best, tone-deaf, and, at worst, possibly authoritarian. Thus, we are left with a nuanced image of Blair as a controversial and critical figure. His credibility as a consultant on prudent governance is called into question by his previous deeds and present proposals. It raises the question of whether Blair's personal background lessens the effect of his criticism of Starmer's leadership.
Spending commitments, and I think he's absolutely right. He's just saying, look, we can't, if we're saying it's as bad as it is, we can't just make unfunded promises.
A more significant question arises as we struggle with this paradox. What does this mean for the future of Labour, given the stark contrast between its past and present? Deep divisions within Labour have been revealed by the conflict between Blair's vision and Starmer's leadership, making voters question whether the party can maintain unity in the face of escalating difficulties. Labour's internal conflicts have been exposed by Blair's biting criticism, exposing a sharply split party.
Just terrible government overreach. You're seeing it now in England where people are getting arrested for tweets.
The conflict between Starmer's leadership and Blair's vision is more than just a disagreement. It's a complete identity crisis. Now, Labour must reconcile its past and present, while attempting to persuade voters that they are capable of running the country. The timing of Labour's internal strife couldn't be worse. The party is in dire need of putting up a united front in the upcoming elections. However, they are being publicly torn apart by their own former leader. So how can they accomplish that? Instead of being a straightforward vacation, Starmer's recent absence now appears to be an indication of more serious issues within the party. Voters are left in a state of confusion as the dust settles. How can we trust Labour to govern the nation if they can't even agree with each other? Many people question whether Labour will be able to gather itself in time to effectively challenge the Conservatives because the future is unclear at best.